Hello, guys. Well, hello there. Well, this is Michael Morgan. I am a Northern Irish deist, and as a deist who obviously holds that reason, nature, and experience can lead us to a rational conclusion that there could be a cause or first source behind all things, a presence, a supreme intelligence, a supreme being, or even the very ground of being that gives us a reason why we live and why we exist and why we even have life. That's why I'm a deist. But I'm here to talk about today that I'm an ex born again Christian here in Northern Ireland, and I served my time for 23 years. I served my time in various churches here throughout Northern Ireland. I've also been in attendance to like the Whitewell Metropolitan Tabernacle, to places like the Elam Baptist, Free Presbyterian, Seventh day Adventist, Worldwide Church of God, and the Churches of Christ. So I've been around a good many of the various denominations here in Northern Ireland and listened to many of their sermons, and also I spent most of my life in Christian bookshops such as the Faith Mission bookshop and also the Evangelical bookshop. So I spent an awful lot of time there and also spent time studying various translations of the Bible and understandings. Well, at one time I even considered learning Greek and Hebrew, and but in a sense I became a sort of a self-taught scholar, theologian, philosopher, and so I had a very inquiring mind and I had a great deep thirst for knowledge and understanding. So you can well imagine in the 1990s, therefore, you know, that I had a lot of questions in life about why are we here, why do we exist even, and why, what is the meaning of life. So, so you're looking around and I became interested in things such as born again Christianity in here in Northern Ireland. And the first question I ever heard was give us a good reason why you wouldn't be a Christian. So therefore, he was obviously appealing to my reason. So here's me, well, the only way I can answer that question, give us one good reason why you wouldn't be a Christian, is basically to discover it and explore it. So that's what I did in my curiosity. So I did experience studying the Bible and things like that. So I got really interested in it and passionate because I sort of think to myself, well, if God created us, therefore He gave us a brain and He therefore gave us reason, then why therefore can't we discover and understand the religion therefore we're believing in? So that's what I did. And I went through the various shops and stuff like that, got the books. I was advocated by various people, recommendations and stuff like that. And so, in a way, I saw it as a quest. Instead of going to plan some Bible college in Belfast, that you would actually educate yourself and give yourself access to the literature that people are spending thousands of pounds for to actually go and study anyway. So, I had a big library and studied all them books. So, and when I did talk to people, went through various theological seminaries and the books that they had, I realized that I had many of them. So that sort of gives me a sort of credentials to actually discuss the subject of Northern Irish born again Christianity, and sometimes to discuss its beliefs and why it can have such a detrimental effect on our human development. And it's thus it led me to my spiritual discovery of Deism. So let us start. Well, as a young 19-year-old man, in the height of the rave culture, the dance culture of techno and rave, so you can well imagine I was all of questioning the material world anyway. So there was a sort of a spiritual thing there already being birthed within me. So it was only naturally that I would try to explore religion at that time because I began to wonder was there something more out there than just the world that I knew. I suppose it taken from a background coming from a single parent family and from a dysfunctional family that it's only natural you would seek something to give you a sense of comfort, to give you a meaning and purpose in life. And I suppose that's what people just call the human spirit, and that was just me there then in the 90s. And so I explored Christianity. It's got to understand its beliefs, its theology, why it believes what it believes, and stuff like that, and what various churches believed, and the history of their denominations. And so I did study church history, and so therefore I knew a good grounding and how each understood their particular gospel message and how they employed it and the methods of how to evangelize it in order what they would call to bring about conversion. So therefore I went through things like the evangelical explosion courses and things like that. So and I even signed up to a Bible college, Caris Bible College. Yes, it started up in the United States. There's a few branches in the UK, even here in Northern Ireland. So I was one of their students basically. And I didn't do the full time as the course to get my certificate because obviously, well, I'm a thinking mind. So it really led me to really conclude maybe I was a deist the whole time. But it was a good experience for me, seeing things as they really are and able to explore like a child and uh, ask questions and really to discuss things and to hear things and learn a lot of stuff. But I suddenly just found a lot of it didn't really agree with my rational thinking mind. You know, that I just realised that when you think something or believe something and it doesn't agree with a thinking mind, when you reason, no matter how much you try to deduce and try to rationalise it, and you just couldn't. You were sort of felt you were snookered in a way, and you sort of ask yourself the question: which do you go with? Do you go with what you're taught or what your reason is actually telling you? And sometimes when you grow up, you learn about the value of truth. Truth is grounded in reason, and reason and experience and nature should be enough to lead a man to know or a woman to know their own truth. And so for me, going through the experience of like Harris Bible College, I realised there was a lot of stuff that just couldn't be really consistent with reason. You know, ideas such as why would a loving God burn and destroy people in hell forever and ever? That's just not consistent with reason, love, or even truth or justice. Or such ideas that basically was bewildering and if not boggling to the human mind to say but the least. You know, such ideas, incomprehensible ideas such as the Trinity. I even questioned it. Even a fellow student who was there with me called Peter Brett. He was a good fellow champion of reason, and him and me were the best of buddies. So we really questioned the establishment, and basically we were seen as dissenters. We were seen as false prophets and heretics. So basically, at the end of the day, by conscience, we just resigned because the Caris Bible College, it was just like religion, just making money out of religion. It's just a form of Christianized capitalism, to say but the least. Lines up people's pockets to make them rich, meanwhile the rest of us are just scraping to get by. So that's what I found in reality. And I began to question, well, if Caris Bible College is like that, well, what if the whole system of organised religions like that? And so I actually went out on a discovery to ask myself questions. When I started looking at things and seeing practices and stuff involved, things like preaching ministry, club work and stuff like that there, I began to see things. And when I was studying and thinking and realizing the logical deductions of where their theology could lead, it began to raise alarm bells in my conscience. And so, therefore, that I began a quest and just wanted to really find myself. So, first of all, I was going to consider atheism to be a free mind. And in many respects, when you read some of their stuff, let's be honest, it can free your mind, sort of unplugging you from all the indoctrination of years of religion and believing in superstition. But when I looked at the logical conclusions of atheism, it just tended to be an emptiness inside. It didn't really help, within the inner human spirit, So I really tried to look at other options and tried being agnostic, and I sort of thought, well, that's a sort of a rational position to take. But you sort of felt in your human spirit there was something more than this. So I went when I was a born again Christian. I always heard an awful lot of stuff was put out there against deism and stuff, and saying that deists believed in a clockwork universe and that God created the universe and just abandoned it. And I sort of thought, well, that's pretty shit. But I started looking at the idea further, and I realized it was just propaganda put out there by none other than Noah Webster, which was a Christian anyway, and he just wanted to ensure that everybody who spoke the American English through his dictionary and through his Webster Bible would listen to his propaganda and just basically hate deists. And I realised that the better way to do so, I went on the internet anyway and typed in deism and found out about the World Union of Deists. And so, listening to the World Union of Deists, reading deist books like The Age of Reason by Thomas Paine, and reading up to then, I was reading books by Unitarians such as William Ellery Channing and Monet Savage, and I thought those books were helpful in my deconstruction period. But then you suddenly realise that when you start things like writing letters to the local papers, you realise the hostility you got against you by these particular born again Christians. And basically, it just reminded me of the story in the Gospels. These people were just plotting. And you see, if crucifixion was legal here in Northern Ireland, they probably would have crucified me in a cross as well. Just like the religious establishment did there. They crucified some good teacher who was called Jesus of Nazareth. He was a Jewish rabbi, and just because he wanted to enrich his Judaism, basically the religious establishment, which were corrupt, not all, but particular people in that, but in the story of the Gospels actually turned around and crucified Jesus. And I actually found that's what born again Christianity was doing with deists. After all, like Christianity doesn't tell you that the last person they murdered in 1829 was actually a deist. They don't turn around and tell you that those who helped to build the framework of the United States were actually deists and Masons. You know, they don't turn around and tell you that the very idea that inspired the United Irishmen wasn't Christianity. It was actually a fact of forms of deism, which was prevalent even in things like the Irish Presbyterian Church and stuff like that. They don't turn around and tell you that one of the great advocates and heroes of mine was the likes of John Toland, to the likes of Thomas Paine, who was an Englishman whose ideas inspired the independence of the United States. They didn't tell you about the Enlightenment, about the discoveries, and how they actually imprisoned the likes of Galileo because they dared to question the religious establishment, i.e., Christianity. And, this is what really got to me. I really found out born again Christians weren't telling me the truth. Men of the cloth were actually lying and spreading information to the public and for public consumption, and playing therefore in the ignorance of the masses. And so therefore that's why I began to question and began to reason and became a strong advocate for truth. That's why I'm an organized deist, because Christian fundamentalism, regardless where it is, United States or Northern Ireland, it shouldn't be able to commit abuses and thinking they can get away with it. They shouldn't be able to get away with able to interrogate people in church halls and stuff for several hours on end, pounding the Bible into them and ganging up on them and using like gangland mentality in order to intimidate, in order to get people to comply when they question their doctrines. That's what happened to me. That's the truth. I've been in many churches getting in the bother. It was just like an interrogation in a police station, to say but the least. You felt like a real criminal and stuff because, just because you maybe read the Bible, you were drawing your own conclusions. And that was the good thing about Unitarian Christianity taught me to do. Because when I started questioning the Trinity and realized it was false, hellfire was false, their ideas of the immortality of the soul was false, their ideas of the biblical inerrancy was proven false, and things like that saying the Bible is infallible and the Word of God, I got the reason got to show me that was just all false. And so therefore the whole foundations in which they build upon is just false. They're building on a shaky foundation. And even when I started using the teachings of Jesus and still holding them today, I realized Christianity has failed. It's not the religion of Jesus, it's just a religion about Jesus. And so that's why I, as an organized deist, speak out against certain aspects of evangelical Christianity, because let's be honest, it's lying to the world. It should tell the truth because it itself, it says, it's the pillar and ground of truth. So therefore, if Christianity, born again Christianity, is the pillar and ground of truth, as it says it is, why isn't it advocating truth? Why is it advocating things like dogma and superstition? And why is it building faith and propositional statements anyway? Because if Christianity was Christianity, it would be building in principles of love as taught by Jesus of Nazareth. And for Christianity, when I search his creeds and studied his creeds, there's nothing about the teachings of Jesus mentioned on any of their creeds. You ask any born again Christian that, if he's really educated, he will be truthful with you hope. These are questions that some born again Christians here in Northern Ireland are actually terrified of me, some of them, and they did spread smear campaigns, but that's what they don't like. They don't like being an Northern Irish deist because I'm actually can refute their teachings many times, and the reason I try to refute their teachings is not just to destroy Christianity, but to enrich Christianity, to give it the discussion, to value God-given reason and nature and experience. And if born again Christianity only adopted the principles of deism, it would be a better religion. It would actually serve its purpose and serve humanity and advocate the God-given rights and equality of every human being. It wouldn't be standing against and discriminating gay people. It would actually be showing the compassion of Jesus and enriching gay people and say, come on in and be accepted in our communities. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. If Christianity adopted deism, it wouldn't be sectarian. You wouldn't have divided neighborhoods and stuff throughout the world, would you? You wouldn't have Christianity turn around and demonizing science. As a matter of fact, it would be the strongest advocates of science and reason. And so that's what original deism tried to do during the Enlightenment. And I'm one of those enlightened deists that happened just to see that religion needs to change. It needs to actually have something to say to a secular world because let's be honest, as a secular world is becoming more and more alienated and disconnected from religion, and as it become more disconnected, we're looking for alternatives. Okay, I try materialism. Materialism's bullshit because materialism and capitalism is just exploiting people to no end and just enslaving people, and that's why there's a lot of debt in the world, and that's why there's a lot of debt in society. So I just turn and says, is there not a way of life that transcends even materialistic thought, and is there not a philosophy that's consistent with reason and nature, and can also have an element of the intuitive and also braces experience and has the possibility of experience as well. And that's why I turned to deism, because deism actually does, because deism can increase our human consciousness. It can increase people's intellect. Actually, the fact is, when I left born again Christianity, to tell you the truth, no offense, but I was thick as fuck. See, when I started studying deism and looking at its principles and looking at what it advocates, and stuff like that. It does advocate to bring out the best of our humanity. So yes, it does have humanistic elements, but it enriches the humanistic elements with its belief in the Creator who bestows us with life, who gives us reason. So it gives us an enrichment to actually think and discover the bigger picture and therefore seek the bigger picture. It does have the potential to reform religion and also to bring about the reconciliation of religion and science and philosophy. It does, my deism has also a form of perennialistic philosophy because it draws from its Irish culture, of Celtic interconnectedness, of the interconnectedness between God, man, and nature. So therefore, Irish deism, it doesn't see us as separate from God as sinners. It sees God in every single living thing. It sees us as basically as embodiments of the divine as reflected through nature and reason and through science when it studies the universe. Because let's be honest, we're all but stardust. Came from stars that existed billions of years ago, brought into being by the Big Bang through millions of years of evolution. And there's guiding process that's behind all those processes of the laws of nature as a lawgiver, as a supreme intelligence that's therefore behind things like the processes of evolution. Is that an argument therefore from ignorance? Well, even a rational thinking, open, honest atheist would admit there's the unknown behind why did the universe come about and what is the purpose of why the universe exists. Atheism doesn't want to address that question, but let's be honest, that's what a deist does. The atheist looks at the universe, right? Just like the atheist looks at the same evidence the atheist looks at. We look at the same evidence of evolution that, say, likes of Richard Dawkins looks at, the likes of the late Christopher Hitch looked at. Yes, they looked at the evidence for evolution. As a deist, I can look at that same evidence, doesn't logically lead me to that atheism is therefore correct. I just personally think atheism is just too reductionist for its own good. I think modern day atheism's just become too assumptuous that it just says it knows everything. Well, I'm sorry, but I'm a deist and I do not assume we know everything. There's a lot of stuff about the universe we just don't know. And we just consider the possibility, what if there is a supreme intelligence behind the universe that brought everything into being through the bang and billions of years of evolution that led modern Homo sapiens to be here to possess such an intelligence and such a consciousness. And even if electrical processes and motor neurons in the brain is what leads up to consciousness, then the question the atheist is going to have to ask what initiated the spark in the first place. You know, see, that's where the atheist is stuck on that one and snookered in that one. So that's why I think deism's a more logical position to take. And it is because, you see, you're a deist, you become more tolerant, more open-minded, and more considerate and more compassionate. Deism can give more principles of humanity that would, to be honest, born again Christianity seems to fail in. Matter of fact, deism would tend to take the teachings of Jesus more seriously by looking at the Gospels, and it withdraws from Jesus as just a human being, a human teacher, a wisdom teacher, like the likes of Buddha, like Muhammad, or any of them. But Jesus gives a message of love and compassion that can inspire many of us, including myself, as a deist. And that's why I'm a deist, because there's reason. I think the universe is here for a reason. And I think we're all here for a reason, to make discoveries, to learn, to grow and develop and to evolve. And who knows what our next stage of evolution could be. We could be Homo Deus, rather just we'd be no Homo sapiens, for all we know. Who knows? Who knows whether mankind will discover as God given dignity and worth and maybe bring about world peace and maybe realize there's better, more rational ways of dealing with your life. So really, to be honest, I realize that I don't need dogma to turn around and dictate to me on how to live my life. I don't need dogma to turn around and tell me you must believe in God. No, I don't need that. I just realize I've got a brain, I've got a heart within me, I've got feelings, and I've got an interconnectedness, and I've got an intuitive mind and a rational mind. So therefore, if God be real, surely God can speak up for himself. He doesn't need a church or a priest or even a holy book. And even those things even limit God anyway. So to me, as a deist, I would just say that they're all right for if you're a kid or something, but you grow up and become an adult sometime, and you therefore have to take responsibility. And we all have to give an account to ourselves. We're our own judge, our own captain of our own soul, and if there be a judgment, well, let's be honest. I think if there be a judgment, if there be one, I think it would be you'd be judged on the use side. How did you use your reason and common sense? How did you use what you've been given, the goodness and love and the best of what it was to be a human being? I think you'd be judging them. You won't be judged whether you believe in Jesus as your Lord and Savior. You won't be judged whether you believe in the Bible or not. If there was a judgment, you would be judged on the basis of how you use common sense and how you use your conscience and how you use the use of reason and how you treat fellow human beings. And if that were the case, and if that were the judgment, a lot of born again Christians have a hell of a lot to answer for. because of their abuses they've been doing for years. Nobody really talks about it. Well, until now, you hear of all the sexual abuses coming out from the Catholic Church and stuff like that. But you also read a lot. The spotlight is on the Anglican Church, and sooner or later, the spotlight's going to be on the evangelical Christians. So, just this space, because the reality is, born again Christians do commit abuses, and I'm just going to turn around and tell you straight up, I was one of those abuse victims by born again Christianity. See, born again Christianity, when I went to church and all, they used to intimidate me, and they used to turn around and didn't accept me at first because I liked to have a wee cigarette. That's where it all started from. And it used to try to control you about what music you should listen to, what television programs you watch, and when you broke the rules, you were in deep shit. Basically, you were brought before the elders, and but that was the first. But you see, when you started questioning doctrines and theology and stuff, it was serious. They made you really feel like a criminal. They really made you feel like you should go to jail because you were brought up for pastors and church elders, and they did browbeat you, and they did intimidate you. They tried to force you to comply. Some even carried out things like sleep deprivation to make sure that you would comply because you knew that your mind was tired, and therefore it would break it down in a vulnerable position so you really would accept anything. And that's what they try to do. You think that sounds like you think that sounds like the Spanish Inquisition. You'd think you're maybe watching too much of the X-Files, but that's the truth. Born again Christianity does commit abuses, my friends. They really do. And it's about time people came out all over the world through like this YouTube channel, the Northern Irish Deists, and that is what we're going to do. We're going to bring these born again Christians to account. We're going to advocate that people all over the world should speak out about their abuses, and more people that listens, they're going to have to listen to us. They're going to have to listen because when they start seeing atheists and stuff and agnostics throwing the stories back at them and bragging at their church doors and stuff, you know, they're going to have to start listening and negotiating and start thinking themselves, look, we're going to have to be more rational here in how we treat people and stuff. We're going to have to be more rational with our religion because, these boys are beginning to see through us. We're going to realize we're just full of shit, and let's be honest, that I really do think the Reformation in Christianity they did in 2005 there, but let's be honest, Christianity is just telling people if it's 400 years out of date. The idea of a male benevolent God who can discriminate women and turn around and tell women that they're just nothing more than just housekeepers and just there to breed wains, and that's all they're for. It's a form of chauvinism which dates right back to patriarchal ancient societies based in the Iron Age, and this is where the Bible really comes from. See, the Bible was written during the Iron Age period in human history in a Middle Eastern culture, and it tells a story about nomads who came from ancient Mesopotamia and came up around the lands which is modern day Palestine, and how they settled there. They became known as Israelites, and they tell their tribal stories about how they understood God, and that's really what the Bible's about until you come to the stories of Jesus. And so, as a deist, I don't really hold the divine revelation. And if there was divine revelation, be it from a God, it would have to be consistent with reason and observation in nature anyway. That's why, as a deist, I can accept God as a creator, because when you look at design and intricacies in nature, it does reflect a form of intelligence like mathematics and the connectedness of nature, and it does reflect reason, and so therefore, it does encourage you to think that there is a supreme mind behind the universe. So that's why logically and rationally I can say that I'm a deist. Are deists against religion? Well, that depends. Religion is doing harm to people. Yes, we are. And we go a stop at nothing to expose all religions, including Christianity, and false ideas that's been advocating for centuries. That's led to enslavement of the masses. and it led to centuries of oppression and the Inquisition right up to World War II, when it actually offered support to Adolf Hitler and Nazi regime, and also that we question things of Christianity's involvement in Rwanda in 1994 when genocides were being committed, and less there is forms of Christianity in the world today that are doing the same thing as Islamic extremists. We see in Africa things like certain born again Christians are actually persecuting people of the gay community. These evils, these abuses, is just because of irrational religion, basically a distorted irrational theology. Now, as a deist, I would advocate a rational theology, and thank God that there's people out there such as Unitarians and progressive Christians, which I have no problem with at all. As a matter of fact, I would kindly support them any day of the week. Like I like Unitarians, but it's just a pity, unfortunately, there's no real Unitarian churches in Northern Ireland. But there is the non-subscribing Presbyterian. I have no problem with churches, but when churches start abusing people, abuses behind closed doors, it's about time people do speak out. That's what I think. You know, it's about time that the victims really do start speaking out for themselves, because they're just going to get away with it, and they're going to do it more and more people anyway, and more people's just going to catch on, because even you start looking around you, you see people who've taken nervous breakdowns, and they all tell you they were born again Christians at one time. It's about time people do start speaking out. It really is. And that's why I'm Michael Morgan, and that's why I do speak out. I make those. I've been opposing for the last 10 years. I've even had hate mail from born again Christians. I've even had born again Christians wished I would burn in hell. I've even had born again Christians who've even threatened me, and some of them even threatened to go over to my house and all. That's just an awful thing, and that's here in Northern Ireland too. And though they might want to deny it and say, "Oh no, man, Larry, he's just making it all up. He never was a born again Christian in the first place." Well, I was, because see, to be honest, I could do a house cleaning up sometime, and I could bring all certificates to prove that I was a members of those particular churches sometime, and I could also prove that there's people that knows me around my local neighbourhood of Antrim town here in Northern Ireland. There's a lot of people know me, so therefore, it can substantiate the claims. So if any born again Christian thinks I'm a liar, well, so be it. You can choose to believe that if you want. But my point is to free and unplug people's minds, because let's be honest, you're causing a lot of abuses to people. You're causing people to hate themselves. You're causing people to actually degrade themselves. And let's be honest, born Christianity has no value for humanity at all. Not like Jesus of Nazareth. At least when Jesus showed human dignity and worth, and yes, he showed value for nature and stuff like that. He taught people to love their enemies, and taught people to love their neighbour, and he also accepted people who did believe different from himself, and he did help them, and he did serve people. And that's, unfortunately, born again Christianity is is falling short. It's found on the scales and just found wanting. And and let's be straight up. Born again Christianity, you really do need to change your image, because you are being discredited when people start talking about housing paedophiles and covering up for them. Like in Northern Ireland and Coleraine, what about those two around committing murders? It was all in the news, and some born again Christians were covering that up. Let's be honest, you should justify murders and stuff like that. You may say a gospel just justifies sinners. Well, does that mean you should cover up for likes of paedophiles, of ball routes, to run around screwing people's kids and stuff like that there? Should you be turning around and covering up for criminals and scoundrels who are exploiting the vulnerable and needy, and who are taking money of people and enriching themselves? Do you think born again Christianity should be doing that? Because I honestly think that the secular public needs to hear the truth, and we demand that you tell the truth. Why doesn't born again Christianity come out and tell the world its true agenda was really at? Because why is it endorsing the likes of Donald Trump anyway, a serial adulterer? And why is it endorsing such people to turn around and advocate things like capitalism, which is an absolute betrayal of what Jesus even taught? So for born again Christianity, you should say you follow Jesus. Why don't you just turn around and tell the people the truth and say you follow a murderer. He committed a few murders one time and he walked around the road to Damascus called in the name of Paul of Tarsus. That's who you really follow, because most of your gospel tracts even testify against Jesus anyway. You just never really believe in Jesus anyway, so stop telling people you're born again Christians. You aren't. You aren't. These are just followers of a cult called Paul. Paul had own views of Jesus. He turned around and preached Jesus who died on the cross and rose again on the third day. Well, that's not what Jesus taught. Jesus taught us to love one another and give human dignity and worth. That that we were created with the power to love and to create a beautiful world called the kingdom of God. That is nothing what born again Christianity to today. The matter of fact is only using Jesus' name as just a front to call itself Christian. It's no more than just a cult that follows Paul and follows and just steals ideas from other more ancient religions anyway that predated it anyway. And fundamentalists, born again Christianity, we all know you're founded by businessmen who just want to sell Christianity because Christianity was taking a serious knock because as a result of the Enlightenment. So really, in the end of the day, I'm just Michael Morgan. I'm just a deist here, and I'm just telling you the truth. I'm just telling you this. There's no bullshitting about me. You know, you can sue me if you want because, see, to be honest, I could turn around and say what the facts that he did on me, about the depression that I had to go through, the things I had experienced, the nightmares, the shakes, and everything. I had to go to psychiatrists and stuff like that and counsellors to try to get help, enable me to be well grounded in reality. So it's at the end of the day, born again Christians, you do need to really change your image because let's be honest, you're not really showing a good image for Jesus anyway. And see, if there was a judgment, he's about one standing in judgment first to give an account of all the shit you put in the world and all the shit you put people through and all those evil people that you help justify. And, and let's be honest, the world is changing, and born again Christianity, you do really need to change. Just take it. You don't have to take it from me. Just look in your own heart. You just use your thinking head and start reasoning and using your common sense, because let's be honest, you're just nothing seen but just not narrow-minded Stone Age bigots. That's all you're getting seen as. You're seen as people with no love at all, not even for yourself, for humanity, and you're not really there to change the world. Because if you were really if you really believed in creationism, you'd be looking after the environment, you'd be planting trees everywhere, you'd be the first to be standing up against the abuses of the environment, you'd be ones like legislation against environmental crime. So you don't really believe in the creator way. And I have known that from 1997. So you don't really believe in God, you don't really believe in Jesus, and you just materialists is just using religion and money. That's all you are. So start telling the truth, and that's my truth, and that's me, the Northern Irish deist, discussing the truth about the truth behind born again Christianity. So there's something for you to think about, and that's something that you can all discuss if you even have a set of balls to discuss it with me. So and if you're just watching and you're maybe disillusioned, I'm just around telling you the truth. So you can just think about it for yourself. And if you have any questions you want to come and ask me about, just subscribe to this channel and, the Northern Irish Days. And if you, seriously, I just gladly talk with you. So thanks very much. And thanks for those who do watch. And thank you very much.